What's going on, knuckleheads? Thank you so much for joining us. This is the post-fight reaction discussion for Jaime Munguia and Spike O'Sullivan. We're doing a little bit differently today because I don't have access to the Lion's Den, to the chamber. But the Spike O'Sullivan Jaime Munguia fight just got finished. Jaime Munguia was able to stop Spike O'Sullivan with about, I think it was 2 minutes and 11 seconds or something like that into round number 11. He improves to 35-0 with 28 knockouts. A lot of people are saying, well, actually, the broadcasters are saying that, Spike O'Sullivan's only lost to champions. He hasn't really been beaten by journeyman. This is another champion now, I guess, in Jaime Munguia that gets a win over Spike O'Sullivan, a guy that, he's in the twilight of his career for sure. And a guy who's never really been a world beater, a decent contender at best. But decent performance from Jaime Munguia. When Jaime Munguia, and I've said this on the channel before, I don't mean to take anything away from him. But when Jaime Munguia beat Saddam Ali, there was a lot of buzz, and Saddam was looking pretty good at the time. He was a champion, and Munguia beat him and finished him. And I thought it was a big deal, I was like, who's this guy? Who's this guy, Jaime Munguia, that's out here, smashing the likes of Saddam Ali? I thought it was pretty impressive. But, since then, he hasn't really rattled off many impressive wins. He just hasn't looked very impressive to me. And I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm a little bit picky about the fighters that I really like. Maybe I'm not seeing something that the rest of the boxing public is seeing in Munguia. I do think he's very physically strong. I do think he's got some physical talent. But even tonight, it's like he couldn't miss with the jab. And they were showing the statistics of the fight afterwards. He landed 50% of his punches, this guy. He landed 50% of his punches. He threw over 400 jabs, I believe it was. But it's like he's not throwing them at the opportune time. He's not really being a technical boxer. He wants to go in there and bang it out. He's so easily lured into these wars. And Spike O'Sullivan lured him into a war, which is Jaime Munguia's weakness. And, Munguia obliged him, and they just went to war. I mean, these two guys were going to war. Munguia and O'Sullivan were just banging it out. It was kind of like that Hogan fight he had a couple fights back. And, he's going to get in there with a big, strong boxer at some point. And he's going to get worked, man. This is not a good strategy that Jaime Munguia is employing. I mean, it's like he can box for a couple rounds and then he goes into brawler mode. And I just don't get it. I don't get what he's doing. I think even though he's got Eric Morales in his corner now, it doesn't seem to really be improving his boxing too much. They tried saying that in the latter half of the fight, his boxing was a little bit improved. But, I beg to differ. I thought, he just looked like the same Jaime Munguia we've seen the past few times out. And I don't know. I can't really get behind it. I'm okay with him. I think he's fun. It was a fun fight. Don't get me wrong. But is he the next big thing in the division? That's not what I'm seeing. That's what I was hearing a while ago, but I'm not seeing it anymore. I think he's okay. I think he's fun to watch, and I think he's physically strong. And that's about it. D-Boy65 in the chat. Thanks for joining, brother. Much appreciated. He says his defense improved a little, and definitely emphasize a little, because I mean, Spike O'Sullivan was landing a lot of shots on him, and if those shots are getting landed by other guys in the division stronger, sharper guys, of which there are many, then it's not going to be a good look for Jaime Munguia. He's going to have to tighten up his defense. I think he's going to have to stick to his boxing more, select his shots a little bit better. He's going to have to listen to Eric Morales more and stop getting lured into these brawls. We also, and Jamaican says Munguia chin was ready to be taken. I agree. I mean, that chin was ready to be taken for a ride, and he's going to have to tighten up, man. He's going to have to tighten up. If a guy like Spike O'Sullivan is touching him up like that, I can only imagine what somebody else in the division that's at a higher level, of which there are a few people, will be able to do to Jaime Munguia. We also had tonight a fight between Jesse Hart, something I also wanted to touch on, and Joe Smith Jr. It looked like it was for a light heavyweight title. Another very lopsided fight. Joe Smith Jr. just taking it to Jesse Hart, winning by basically almost by shutout on Andre Ward's card, which I think is the only card that should probably matter at this point. And just a fantastic performance by Joe Smith Jr. Jesse Hart was talking all this smack about Bernard Hopkins, excuse me, being his mentor and this and that, and how he wanted to get revenge on Joe Smith for what he did to Bernard Hopkins. But, I didn't see any revenge happening there. Joe Smith was just basically walking forward and begging Hart out. Another fight that I wanted to discuss real quick, besides the Jaime Munguia and Spike O'Sullivan fight, was the women's super middleweight fight, I believe it was, on the undercard. This is the second day in a row we've had a women's super middleweight fight, and it was freaking sick, man. We had a woman named, I believe it was Alejandra Jimenez, dropping down from heavyweight to take on Sean Cruz, who, is very tough in her own right. And these two women, I mean, this was the brawl of the night. This was like yesterday's fight between Setaruz and Napoleon Espinosa on the undercard of yesterday's Clarissa Shields fight. I mean, that Setaruz Napoleon Espinosa fight was so entertaining, and the fight tonight was very entertaining as well. It got a little bit sloppy and tired. Tonight's fight between Jimenez and Cruz got a little bit sloppy near the end of the fight when both women started to fatigue. But I thought Cruz really showed a lot of heart in continuing to sort of box technically, despite the fact that, man, Jimenez was just walking her down. And Sergio Mora said on the broadcast, it was like she was Antonio Margarito. It was like the female version of Antonio Margarito, Alejandra Jimenez was. And it was incredible. I mean, she just kept coming forward, absorbing punishment. It was crazy, man. It was crazy. So, I was impressed. But I was also impressed by Cruz. She showed a lot of heart, and just a fun day of boxing, a fun weekend of boxing. But I felt like the undercards stole the show. This Jaime Munguia Spike O'Sullivan fight was pretty entertaining, but man, I felt like these female fights have been fantastic, and it goes to my point that it's a shame boxing doesn't market the females the way MMA does. I think if they did, we'd have a lot more boxing fans, that were females, as opposed to just a bunch of guys, that are watching the sport. Pound for Pound Boxing says, what a day of boxing. I agree, man. It was a good time. But, again, I felt like the undercards did great as well. The Jesse Hart Joe Smith Jr. fight, though, I thought that was a lot of fun. I was expecting a bit more of a competitive fight. I did think Joe Smith would win that fight. I was expecting it to be a bit more competitive, but it wasn't. Joe Smith basically just ran through Jesse Hart. Almost stopped him at one point, dropped him at one point. and just a good fight all around. Let's see who else we got here. Uh, Jamaican says, no wonder Munguia didn't fight anyone at 154. Yeah, I mean, he's still green, man. He's still green. The thing is, I don't know if he's ever gonna get better. You know, he hasn't shown a lot of improvement. He's showing very marginal improvement, and it's almost, you know, it's like it's telling me that perhaps Munguia doesn't have that high of a ceiling as far as his talent goes. I mean, I do think he's physically very strong, and I hope he can live up to the potential that we saw in that Saddam Ali fight. But I don't know. I'm not seeing a greatness. You know, I'm seeing a decent fighter, but I'm not seeing greatness. Although I do think he's very entertaining, and that's half the battle right there. Knucklehead. So, you know, there's at least 14 of you in here, 16 of you in here right now. Please hit that like button. It would be much appreciated. Help your boy out with some engagement. If you're watching this on the replay, like, comment, share, subscribe, and do everything all the nice people on YouTube do. Very easy to hit that like button, knuckleheads. Also, as you guys know, we got Fighters Rep coming up on February 28th. That's at the end of next month. Very excited for it. Hope you guys tune in, show some love, support there. It's going to be sick. And, you know, we've actually got our buddies fighting tonight. A lot of people that work at Fighters Rep or help out with Fighters Rep are actually fighting tonight. Coach Iman out of CMMA, he's fighting tonight at Spar Star, local MMA show here in Southern California. So I think that's pretty cool too. And you know, appreciate you guys joining me for this, showing some love to the channel. Sorry I'm not in the lair, in the lion's den like I usually am. But you know, can't always have access to the room there. Let's see here. Jamaican says he's green, but he's 35 and 0. I've never seen a champion fought like that with his chin left in the air. You know, Jamaican, he is green at 35 and 0. It's kind of crazy, my man. And you're right. I mean, he's going to need to tuck that chin at some point. He does, you know, he does have decent power. But if you're not able to get Spike O'Sullivan out of there for 11 rounds, then it's not some sort of devastating power. Let's not forget, David Lemieux got Spike O'Sullivan out of there in just one round. Let's see here. Pound for Pound Boxing says, Munguia should go to Robert Garcia's camp. You know, I agree with that. That'd be a really good look for him. I think, though, he's based in Mexico, so I'm not sure if he would, you know, come to the United States to train or if the immigration situation would allow him to do that. To be honest, I'm not quite sure, but I think he needs to he needs to get a more professional trainer. I mean, Eric Morales, of course, a fantastic fighter, but as far as his training acumen, you know, we don't know much about that. I do think a guy like Robert Garcia could potentially take him to the next level, you know, could potentially take him to the next level he needs to get to. And I mean, I'm not even sure where Robert Garcia is at this point. Is he in Oxnard still, or has he moved? If you know that, pound for pound, let me know. I remember the camp was in Oxnard back in the day, but I'm not sure. I think he may have moved. I know that Elise Sekback is always there getting video. And you just said Riverside. That makes sense. So Riverside, you know, sort of inland empire, not too expensive. Something maybe a guy that coming up from Mexico could be able to do. Wouldn't recommend living in Los Angeles. Super expensive in Los Angeles. And, you know, to be quite honest, I'm not sure why it's so expensive here. I mean, it's probably the dirtiest, you know, much love to Los Angeles, but it's probably the dirtiest city I've lived in. Just, you know, a lot of crime. Oh, Sorry about that, guys. Holy shit. So a lot of crime. Probably the dirtiest city I've lived in. Pollution, but the most talented place in the world for fighting, I think, right here in Southern California. I mean, I'm not too far. I'm not too far from Orange County. I'm in Los Angeles County. And so when we do the fights in Seal Beach, it's kind of on the border between Orange County and Los Angeles County. And that's the creme de la creme right there, man. I got the best gyms in the world, all within 50 miles, 100 miles radius, and just fantastic competition. You'll see it. You'll see it next month. You'll see what I'm talking about when you hopefully get your tickets to Fighters Rep or tune in right here. But back to the Munguia Sullivan fight. I mean, and also the Jesse Hart fight versus Joe Smith Jr. If you guys watch the undercards as well, I mean, give me your thoughts. Tell me what you guys thought about the fights. It seems that most of you agree with me that Munguia is maybe a little bit overrated, but entertaining nonetheless. And D-Boy is saying Charlo versus Munguia. I don't think that Munguia would fare well against Charlo. I think that's a very bad matchup. Charlo's a strong guy. Charlo can box. And Munguia sticking his chin out there like that, it would be a fun fight, I think. It would definitely be a fun fight. But, would Munguia win that fight? I don't know, my man. I don't know. Michael Hernandez says, very good fight starting the year. Fantastic. Munguia should improve on his defense. He can be great. It depends who's training him. And Michael, you might be right about that. We were just talking about that in the chat. We were saying maybe he needs to go to Robert Garcia's gym in Riverside. He needs to head on over to Riverside, but he needs to stay away from all these delicious freaking restaurants and places to eat in Southern California. My goodness. He doesn't want to turn into Andy Ruiz, who, I can blame for gaining all that weight and not dedicating himself. But, man, the food down here is so damn good. Big shout out, by the way, to Mariscos El Gordo. They're the ones that make the food for Fighters Rep. Just absolutely delicious. If you come to our fights, you get the best freaking food, man. So good. And obviously some great drinks as well. Let's see here. Logic says Munguia could have made the fight easier utilizing his jab from the start. Good middleweight intro for Munguia. And, Logic, you're right about that, man. I felt like if he would have just stuck to the jab, which, I mean, it's like he couldn't miss the jab, right? It's like he would forget the jab. He would just bang away with Spike O'Sullivan. They would just bang each other's brains out in the most non-sexual way possible. I'm saying that. And then, Munguia would remember, oh shit, I got a jab. And then he would just throw like 15 jabs and 14 of them would land, and all of them looked like they were really hurting Spike O'Sullivan. I mean, Munguia definitely has a heavy jab. So it's like, dude, you could have finished the fight earlier with that jab alone. And I don't know, he just doesn't do it. Marino Moreno says, overrated? Yeah, right. Charlo's overrated. Andrade's better than Charlo. Charlo trash, has a big mouth just like his younger brother. He was losing to Harrison. Just got lucky with that KO. So perhaps Charlo's slightly overrated, and I would agree that Demetrius Andrade is probably better right now. I wouldn't say they're trash. I think they're solid boxer punchers. And I agree that Jermell, the younger brother, was losing, or the smaller brother was losing to Tony Harrison in that fight, was getting walked down. But that doesn't have to anything to do with Jermall Charlo, who's bigger and I think is a better fighter than Jermell, the one that fought Tony Harrison. And so, if he were to fight Jaime Munguia, I'd be interested to see what happens. I mean, I'd be interested to see, you know what I mean? Because, Munguia, he's getting away with it now because he's fighting guys that are physically weaker than him. But is he going to be able to get away with it when the guy is as strong as he is? And I feel like Charlo probably would be that guy who is not only strong and physical, but also has the boxing ability. So, pound for pound boxing says, yes, sir, that jab was killing Spike. I mean, Spike was getting spiked with that jab over and over again. And I was just saying to myself, man, Munguia needs to just throw 10 more jabs and this fight is over. And then he would stop and, commence to bang it out with Spike, once more. Logic says, it's the Mexican style. He tried for KO early. Once he knew Sullivan was going down early, he changed it up. Charlo claims he wants best in the division, has yet to fight a top 10 middleweight to this point. He's being offered a huge payday by her to face Andrade. He's been silent thus far. I mean, Andrade's a problem. I don't think Charlo's going to want to fight a guy like Demetrius Andrade, although at this point I think he should. At this point, I think he should. I think it's a good fight. I actually think it's a good fight. I would favor Andrade. But I think it's a good fight because, Andrade's so inactive anyway that if, Charlo's able to beat him, that's a huge scalp for Charlo if that happens. So, it'd be a fun fight. And I hope it happens, man. I hope it happens. But, those PBC guys, man, they get moved. They get moved really well. They get moved really well. There's not a lot of risk. They take their sweet, sweet time. And, you have to upset them. One Elusai, thank you for joining the chat. Brother, please hit the subscribe button, the bell notification icon. It's much appreciated. We do this live after all the big fights. And, of course, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. By helping support the channel, you're also helping us support the only kickboxing promotion in the entire state of California. You're helping me build up these young fighters. And, we air the fights free right here on YouTube. That's only if, though, you can't get your ticket and you're not somewhere in Southern California where you can come buy a ticket and watch. But he says, one Enusai says, Jaime low blow Munguia. This guy always throws low blows. They zap your energy. He's not going to make noise at 160. He gets hit way too much. He looks good coming forward. I agree with you on that one, brother. I agree with you on that one. And, it doesn't look like the power carried the way it should have. Again, David Lemieux was able to get Spike O'Sullivan out of there in one round. And, I think Munguia can hit pretty hard, but nothing that's going to prevent a Charlo from beating him. That's why the ref took a point from Munguia. Yeah, the low blows. And, he really wings his shots. It's a lot of like uppercuts and hooks and stuff like that. He needs to, he needs to work on the jab more. He needs to be more technical. He needs to throw more jabs and then, step in behind the jab with the hooks and the uppercuts and, not be so wide with his punches. He's trying to generate like, superpowers in every single punch that he throws. And that's why, he's landing these low blows. He needs to keep it a little bit tighter. Logic says Charlo can't claim he wants the best of the opportunity to unify and make a huge payday, and he ain't taking it. I know it ain't till next week, but early thoughts on Connor's next fight. Oh, man. So we'll definitely do a breakdown of that. We'll probably start UFC Fight Week on Monday. and we'll start talking about Connor versus Cowboy. Um, my thoughts on that. I think my thoughts on that are pretty much in line with a lot of people's thoughts on that. I think that Conor McGregor is just too good of a striker for a guy like Cowboy Cerrone. Not that Cowboy Cerrone isn't a good striker, but Cowboy is going to have to be able to control himself and excuse me, and use his legs and use his range. And I'm not sure Cowboy has the discipline to do that, man. I'm not sure he has the discipline to stand the outside and use his legs and use his range and maybe try to get to fight to the ground. That's how he wins this fight. He's Cowboy. He's going to want to stand and bang with Conor, give the people what they came to watch. And, that unfortunately for Cowboy, that plays right into, Conor's hands. That plays right into his hands. So I don't think it's going to be a tough fight for Conor at all, but I think it'll be fun while it lasts. Pound for pound boxing, 510. Says hit that like button, baby. You guys heard him. Hit that like button. It's much appreciated. Hit the subscribe button, the bell notification icon next to it. Join us Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays, 7 p.m. Pacific, when we go live and we talk about boxing. Jamaican says, Munguia versus Canelo, he better go cut weight and get back to 154. He ain't ready, my goodness. He sure as hell ain't, Jamaican. Canelo will murder Munguia. Facts, 100%, says Pound for Pound Boxing 510. I couldn't agree more, man. I couldn't agree more. I don't, it's a death wish if he ever fights, if he ever fights Canelo. That's going to be crazy if that ever happens. Logic says, thoughts on Fury Wilder rematch. All Fury has to do is avoid Wilder's power and use his boxing skills to get the win. Yeah, that's true, but he's got to avoid that power for 12 rounds unless he could do something and stop the fight in his favor. So it's going to be a tough fight. It's going to be a tough fight for Fury. It's going to be a tough fight for Wilder. If Fury's dedicated, if Fury's dedicated, he could win that fight easily. But I'm just not sure where his head is at. And Deontay Wilder's been very consistent. So, we'll have to wait and see. Right now, again, I like Wilder, but, as the fight gets closer, I may switch over to Fury. I do think he's the superior boxer, of course. And I don't like the fact that with Wilder, you got to wait for him to land that huge punch. I feel like at some point that plan is going to fail for him. Let's see here. D-Boy65 says Connor's a hype job. Couldn't even hurt 40-year-old Floyd. I don't know if Connor's a hype job, man. Let's not forget, this guy finished Jose Aldo within like a minute. Oh, no, within 15 seconds? And also did the same, or not did the same, but did Eddie Alvarez dirty as well. When Eddie Alvarez was pretty damn good. So I don't know, man. Let's not sleep on Conor McGregor. He's no joke, man. I like the guy. I mean, he might talk a lot of shit and punch old people in the face, but he's a pretty damn good fighter. And in the MMA world, he's definitely, an exceptional striker. And there's not too many people that could strike with him in MMA. I mean, you saw him against Floyd. He actually did a pretty damn good job, I thought, considering that he was coming from a different sport. One Elusai says, you guys will be surprised. Cowboy will transition to wrestling against McGregor and tire him out. Cowboy's wrestling is very underrated. I actually had an interview with Chad George on this channel a few days back, or was it almost a week ago now? Anyway, and Chad was saying the same thing, Cowboys wrestling is fantastic. I mean, so I'm not surprised at all if Cowboy, about Cowboys wrestling or jiu-jitsu. Apparently he's got fantastic jiu-jitsu as well. It's just the thing is he going to use it? He's not going to use it, man. He's going to stand and try to bang with Conor McGregor. I think that's what he's going to. I think that's what he's going to do, and he's going to get knocked out doing that kind of thing. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Sonny Burness, thank you so much for joining the chat, brother. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, in the bell notification icon. He says Babyface Assassin versus Ruiz. I think that's a fantastic fight. I think that's a fight Ruiz would win if he comes in shape, even if he comes in fat like he did last time. I think Ruiz will probably win that fight. I didn't like the way Babyface looked against Chris Areola. To me, it seemed like he took a step back. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. Let's see here. My brother Jamaican says, I'm with you. Waters' luck might just run out. So, Jamaican not feeling very confident about having to have Water land that money punch, because if he does it, let's face it, I mean, it's a huge lopsided unanimous decision win for Tyson Fury if Water doesn't land that massive right hand. Let's see. Logic says, I find it funny when folks say Water plays possum on purpose, losing rounds to set up one punch makes him a skilled boxer. He's definitely an all-time power puncher. I find it funny too. He's not. The purpose of his strategies is not to lose rounds. It's to land a big punch. The problem is he's losing rounds not because he's doing it on purpose or anything like that. He's losing rounds because he can't really box that well. And so, that's the reality of it. People can say what they like. Logic is saying, do you think time off will affect McGregor? It depends. I mean, if he's been consistent in the gym, I don't think it'll be that huge of a difference. But, it remains to be seen. Has he been training? If he's been training consistently, then I think he'll be okay. I do think at the end of the day there'll be some rust. It's just a sport where you got to stay active, and Cowboy's very active, and that's what gives him a chance in this fight. Excuse me, guys. Man, woke up early as hell today. So that's what gives him a chance in this fight is, he stays active. And McGregor's been out the cage for so long. He might go in there a little bit rusty with his timing a little off. Might get caught with a head kick. You know what I mean? I think it'll be an effect. We'll see an effect, but I don't think it'll be significant. Sonny Burness says Kownacki versus Ruiz. Kownacki versus Ruiz is a perfect stylistic fight. Hell yeah. I think that is a perfect stylistic fight. I think that's a really fun fight. I would love to watch that fight, if I'm being honest with you. I want to see Dillian White fight, though, man. It looks like he wants to fight Povetkin. That'd be a fun fight, too. I want to watch Dillian White, man. That's my guy. I want to see that guy fight. Maybe him fight Ruiz would be a lot of fun. Logic says, thoughts on Askren early exit from MMA? I don't think it's an early exit. I mean, he did his thing for a while at ONE FC, but look at the results he came up with when he went to the UFC. He got smashed up. So, if I was him, I'd probably do the same thing. I mean, look, what Jorge Masvidal did to him, that's a career ender, man. That's a career-ending, horrific result. You know what I mean? So I don't blame him. I'm not mad at him. And it's time for him to exit for real because, not just that, but then he lost. I think he lost the next fight as well to the other boring guy. So he got choked out by the other boring guy. I call him the wet blanket, Damian Maia. Much respect to him, but I hate his style. One Elusei said, what a lot of people do not know, Water was coming off the flu just before the first Fury fight. Also, Fury's cut hasn't had enough time to heal. Waters' punches were straight against Ortiz. Yeah, flu, that's just fine. But, Fury was also coming off of doing cocaine and weighing 400 pounds for 3 years and not fighting. So I appreciate the flu, but Fury was also coming off a horrific situation. And that's the reason the Wilder team even took that fight. I mean, I think had they thought that Fury had a chance of winning that fight and had been in top form, they wouldn't have been so eager to take that fight. And even if Wilder's punches were a little straighter against Ortiz, I mean, he was losing every single round of that fight until he didn't. Let's see here. Logic. Ruiz trainer said Ruiz has gone MIA. You think he's done and rides off with his big paydays. I know I spoke to the trainer on this channel, and the interview has over 100,000 views when I interviewed Manny Robles. So thank you guys for that. Thank you for watching that. But I don't know. I don't know if Ruiz ever comes back, man. I don't know. I hope he does. I hope he gets it right and comes back. Whiskey Dragonfly, where you been, brother? He says, peace, peace, fam. People still don't understand. Wilder doesn't care about winning rounds. He's a one-shot, one-kill fighter. Casuals can't wrap their head around that concept. Yeah, Whiskey Dragonfly. I mean, I don't, I don't think he doesn't care about winning rounds. I just think he can't win rounds, if I'm being honest with you. I don't think he has the boxing skills, excuse me, to win rounds. And the one shot, one kill thing, it's a little bit silly. Why would you risk being behind on the scorecards like that, having to land that money shot? If you could actually box and put some rounds in the bank, then you don't have to pressure yourself and worry about landing that money shot all the time. And the time he stepped up and fought an elite fighter in Tyson Fury, Tyson Fury got back up. Let's not forget that. So, we're going to have to wait and see how Wilder fares against the other best guys at heavyweight. He hasn't really fought anyone that's really good outside of Tyson Fury. Like my boy Dillian White says, Luis Ortiz is a million years old. Jamaican says, what do you think about White calling Ruiz an old man, but calling out an older man? Well, who's he calling out that's older than Ortiz? I think you mean Ortiz. Sonny Burness says, what about the fact Canelo fought Kovalev, knowing Kovalev is just a one-dimensional fighter? I even predicted that fight perfectly. Don't you think Ramirez or Benavidez would have been more challenging? Well, um, I said that on this channel. We also predicted that fight. And I predicted that I predicted that Canelo was gonna beat Kovalev, and I think I said a late stoppage even. And he's Canelo's taken the route where he believes it's more glamorous to win titles in different divisions. He prioritizes winning titles in different divisions over winning titles in his own division, like unifying and clearing out the division. It's more important to him, I guess he believes, to win titles in multiple divisions. Jamaican says, or rather, Logic says, Whiskey Dragon, I think it's the casual fans who think Wilder looks for the one shot. Boxing fans see he gets outboxed by skilled boxers. I agree with that. And Sonny, to your comment, for sure, brother, Ramirez or Benavidez would have been more challenging. So would have Bivol or Beterbiev, but I don't think you're going to see Canelo step in there against Beterbiev. Povetkin, so Jamaican, you're saying Povetkin is older than Luis Ortiz? I don't think so, I don't think Povetkin is older than Luis Ortiz. Also, Povetkin is more accomplished than Luis Ortiz. He's actually won a title. So he's younger, I believe, and he's also won a title. He's also an easier fight to get made. Um, I don't think Dillian White is trying to take an easy route here at all. I think he's an easier fight to get made because he's always on the matchroom cards. The fans are asking for Ortiz. I don't know. To be honest, I'm a fan. I don't give a shit who he fights. I'm sure if Dillian White fights Ortiz, he beats him up. But that's my opinion. Whiskey Dragonfly says, Logic, it comes down to your preference of style. Waters a sniper. He defies conventional boxing fundamentals and gets away with it. But again, Whiskey Dragonfly, I mean, if you guys are trying to say that Wilder is willing to lose 7, 8, 9, 10 rounds waiting to land the magic punch, because I mean, what would be the point of losing the rounds then? I mean, you could, whether you're active or inactive, you could land the knockout punch. But the reason he's losing all these rounds is because he's just not a good boxer. If he was a decent boxer, he could, he'd be winning some rounds and look for a way to set up the big punch. The problem is he's not a good boxer. Logic says, I like Canelo, but him saying Saunders is now a good fighter since he now stands and fights trying to prop fight, even though Saunders looked pretty bad last fight. I mean, that'd be a fun fight. I think Saunders, fights up to the level of his competition. So I think if he fought, I think if Saunders fought Canelo, that'd be a really good fight. Sonny Burnett says, Yo, did you feel as if Ortiz was beating Wilder before he got knocked out cold? Hell yeah, Sonny, dude. He won every round. He won every single round of that fight, brother. And that's not a strategy, and that's not on purpose. That Wilder lost every single round. He lost every single round because he can't box. Juan Elusai says, most do not know there was a weight rehydration clause for the Canelo Kovalev fight. I'm sure there was. Canelo's not going to let someone beat him that easily. At the end of the day, he's boxing's A side. He's everybody's A side. Everybody else is the B side. So he'll do what he wants. Logic says, Whiskey Dragon, I agree, but it's casual fans who think he's doing it on purpose when he's clearly getting outboxed waiting for one shot. I agree. Why lose rounds? It doesn't make sense. Exactly. I mean, if you're waiting for the one shot, right? Throw some jabs, try to win a round, try to set up the one shot. That's what you do in boxing. You don't just stand there and plot around and wait for a 60-year-old guy to throw a punch so you can knock him out. You set up your shots, you try to win some rounds, you try to put some rounds in the bank to take the pressure off so you don't have to worry about, throwing the Hail Mary at the end of the fight. I don't know. That's my opinion. Maybe you disagree. Jamaican says Ortiz was old. He got tired and stood right in front of Wilder. For sure. For sure. And despite the fact that he's old, he beat Wilder every single round of that fight. He was winning until he got dropped. And yes, he got dropped. But I mean, if you expect me to praise Wilder for that performance, I'm not. I can't. This is boxing. This is boxing, and it's scored round by round. And if you're going to sit there and wait until an opportune shot comes, that shot may never come. Against Tyson Fury, he had to earn those shots. And despite the fact that he landed them, I thought he got the biggest gift decision of his life. Let's see here. And Juan Eluze says, after Wilder knocks out Fury, he will have knocked out every man he's faced. That's true if he's able to knock out Fury. Logic, I had Fury winning even with Fury being knocked down. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's pretty easily. Jamaica says, Wilder's my champ, but I'm a bit suspicious as to why he hasn't unified after being champion for so long. It's because he doesn't want to fight the best guys, man. He should have fought AJ. He should have fought Dillian White. He should have fought, I don't know, fight anyone. Andy Ruiz. Fight Povetkin. I know he tried fighting Povetkin. That's a bad one. But, there's so many guys for Wilder to fight. And he goes and gets the... I knew he was full of shit, even though I like him. But I thought he was full of shit when he did the Luis Ortiz fight for the second time. With all the guys there are at heavyweight. With all the guys at heavyweight, he decided to go fight Luis Ortiz again. Come on, man. Like, come the fuck on, bro. There's so many guys at heavyweight that deserve the opportunity to fight. Why fight Luis Ortiz again? I don't understand. It's stupid. Juan Eluze says Wilder may have been losing, but they weren't convincing rounds. Ortiz didn't have a high connect rate. It's a 12-round fight. Wilder won 6 and was coming on, hence the knockout. I think you're convincing yourself there, brother. He lost every single round of that, brother. Logic. It's funny if you think about it. Even though Wilder KO'd Ortiz, he still wasn't the better boxer in the ring. He wasn't. That was a poor performance. I actually thought he did better in the first fight, even though he got hurt a lot more. Jamaican says, "Yep, that's when I stopped cheering for him." You see that? You can't hide the reality from the real boxing fans with sense. So that's why guys like me and Jamaican see that shit and they're like, what the fuck's going on? Carlos Castillo, what's up, my brother? Thank you for joining the chat. Hit the subscribe button, the bell notification icon. He says, ¿Qué dices? Pinche borracho. Yo soy borracho. ¿Por qué me dices que soy borracho? Yo no soy borracho, yo soy cansado de trabajando, coño. No soy como ustedes emborrachados por el YouTube jodiendo. ¿Oíste? Logic says Ortiz was winning every round versus Wilder. He sure was. He sure was. And it's, I don't know, maybe it has something to do with the reason why Wilder hasn't fought AJ and hasn't fought, Povetkin and didn't fight Oscar Rivas and didn't fight Joseph Parker and didn't fight Dillian White and didn't fight all that other stuff, Carlos Castillo, ha ha ha, está buena, brother. Coño, Carlos, man. Si quieres emborrachar conmigo, you have to bring me a bottle of tequila, and I like Modelo beer. I don't know if you drink Modelo beer, brother, but that's my beer. Modelo, I like it. What else do I like? I like whiskey. Me gusta tomar whiskey de Johnny Walker. Es mi preferido whisky. Para que lo sepas, baba. Logic says, está loco este buey. Logic says, good stuff as always, brother. Looking forward to the next one. I'm out. Logic, thank you for joining, my brother. I'll see you. We might do Anxiety Sunday tomorrow. Maybe I get a guest or something, but for sure, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific, join me. I go live. And immediately after all the big fights, like we did tonight, even though it wasn't the biggest of fights this weekend, we did go live yesterday after Clarissa Shields, and we went live today. Juan Eluce says, Wilder said after the fight, no one wanted to fight Ortiz. He wanted Ortiz to make some money. Nothing wrong with that. What? Why didn't AJ fight Ortiz? The official scorecard was Wilder winning round 6. Oh. Well, look, Juan Eluce, I respect your opinion, right? I respect it. That's what I'm gonna. I'm gonna leave it at that, bro. I respect your opinion, and you're entitled to it. He wanted Ortiz to make some money. What a nice guy. What a nice guy. So he's gonna fight the 50-year-old guy that he knocked out before, instead of fighting the 15 guys that have been waiting for an opportunity forever, or his mandatory in Dillian White, who's been a mandatory challenger for 800 days. I believe it's been 800 days now that Dillian White has been the mandatory challenger for Deontay Wilder. The mandatory challenger. 800 is going to be fucking, a lunar eclipse or solar eclipse by the time this fucking guy fights Dillian White or somebody with a pulse. But, we're all entitled to our opinions. Logic says Hornitos is underrated tequila. I'll keep that in mind, brother. Pienso que Munguia no está preparado para los grandes. Creo que Lemieux bajando le parte su madre. Estoy en acuerdo con eso, Carlos. Estoy en acuerdo con eso, compadre. Munguia está fuerte. Es un hombre bien fuerte, pero no es tan técnico. No es tan fuerte técnicamente como Canelo or I don't know who else to say. Tiene que entrenarse con Robert García o alguien diferente. Tiene que mudarse a los Estados Unidos, creo, y obtener un entrenador que sabe lo que está haciendo. Si va a seguir entrenando en México con Eric Morales, que no tiene mucha experiencia entrenando a los peleadores, no creo que va a mejorar. Está el mismo Jaime Munguia que siempre. Y no tiene el poder en el peso 160 para noquear ni a Spike O'Sullivan. Así que está bien jodido, compadre. Logic, Buchanan's, Chivas Regal. I'll try to make it. Thanks for what you do. Entertaining as always. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Jamaican says Wilder is a little bit more technical than Munguia, though. Oh shit, I don't know about that. That's a tough call. Carlos Castillo says lo mataría Golovkin. Seguro que sí. Y también Canelo. No creo que está listo para 160 libras. Hay que bajarse otra vez. Y trabajar en su boxeo. Concentrar en el boxeo. No en, tirar haymakers como un loco. Logic says, one last thing before I'm out. What are your thoughts on Munguia facing a fading Triple G at this moment? That's what Carlos Castillo is saying. He's saying Golovkin is going to kill him if they fight. And I agree. And and I don't know if Golovkin is fading. We don't know if Golovkin is fading or not. Golovkin in his last fight fought a very good Sergey Derevyanchenko, a guy who's always been good, very good. And Golovkin was sick, man. You could see it in the corner. He was a sick person. So even if he's fading, I don't know if he's faded enough to where a guy like Munguia can beat him. I don't think so. I'd like to see Golovkin in there again and see if maybe it was the sickness that was sort of exacerbating his, his poor performance, sort of making it worse than it would have been against Derevyanchenko. It was a great fight, but Derevyanchenko, let's not forget, is no joke, you guys, So, I don't know. I'd like to see Golovkin again before I make any decisions, but I think Golovkin smashes Munguia. The Munguia we saw tonight, the Munguia we saw against Hogan, Golovkin kills him, man. Golovkin clobbers him. That's the way I feel about it. Hey, there's like 19 of you in here. Hit the damn like button. Show some love to your boy. I'm working hard on the channel. Also, feel free to donate if you guys haven't already. Anything you guys donate to the channel gets reinvested right back in to Fighters Rep and, building the only kickboxing promotion in the whole state of California. And also, if you click the link below, show some love. Get your Fighters Rep shirt, man. Look at this thing. Look how sexy that is, baby. Oh, baby, que sexy. So, yeah, get you a Fighters Rep shirt. The link below, brothers. Carlos Castillo says, dame tu opinión de quién ganó las entre Triple G y Canelo. Bueno, para mí, en la primera pelea ganó Triple G. Yo creo que ganó Triple G en la primera. En la segunda fue o un draw o Canelo. Pero fue demasiado el decision. It was very close. Very close. Pero la primera ganó Triple G y la segunda Canelo. Esa es mi opinión. ¿Qué tú crees? ¿Soy loco? ¿Soy borracho? Déjame saber. Let me see. Abdul Charistias, what's up, my brother? Says you speak Spanish. Yeah, hablo un poquito de español. Whiskey Dragonfly says Munguia versus Ryoto, Murata, or Eubanks would be all action fight. Oh man, both would beat Munguia. Wow, I would love to see Munguia versus Eubanks. Whiskey Dragonfly. That is fucking brilliant that you bring that up. Let me tell you, that is brilliant. Carlos Castillo says chingados, estoy de acuerdo, compa. Pero para mí ganó los dos Triple G. Bueno, pero en la segunda Canelo estaba peleando bien, fue muy agresivo y no sé, me parece que it was a close fight, it was a close fight, pero me parece que Canelo ganó la segunda. Y yo creo que si van a pelear la tercera, si van a hacer la tercera, Canelo va a ganar con más con más puntos que la segunda. Yo creo que Canelo va a ganar. Porque ya Triple G está poniendo viejo, bro. Ya Triple G está poniendo viejo y el Canelo todavía está joven. Canelo todavía no ha llegado a su potencial. Todavía tiene más que aprender y mejorar. Y yo creo que ya Triple G es un viejito jodido. Sergio Ramirez says, Munguia got a decent power jab. I agree with that. He had a nice power jab, and he didn't use it. He didn't use it when he needed to use it. He would forget about using it, and he'd come back to use it, and it would be really successful, and then he'd get lured into a brawl again. It was weird. It was a weird fight. He needs to be a little bit more educated with his boxing. Abdul Charistea says, did Chavez Jr. quit? He sure did. And it was embarrassing, my brother. 3G is too old. He'll get knocked out. I agree with that. Sergio Ramirez says, I think Munguia has a good chance against Triple G. I don't think Munguia has a good chance against Triple G. I think Triple G is too strong, still too good of a boxer. And I don't think Munguia is there yet, man. I think Munguia needs to work. Again, like some of the people in the chat were saying, with a guy like Robert Garcia step his game up a little bit. Abdul Sharistias, I'd like to know, do you speak Spanish? First name Abdul, so I'm thinking maybe you've got some Arab descent. Carlos Castillo says, creo que comparando la pelea Triple G versus Derevyanchenko, le dio mejor pelea el ucraniano que el pecoso. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. La otra cosa es que Triple G, estaba todavía más viejo que cuando estaba peleando con Canelo. Cuando pelearon Triple G y Derevyanchenko, Triple G estaba más viejo todavía. Fue después de la segunda pelea contra Canelo, donde tuvo muchos heridos. Ah, esa fue una pelea bien dura y yo no creo que un peleador va a estar en la misma forma después de una pelea así. Así que yo creo que Triple G estaba un poquito dañado, herido después de la pelea contra, contra Canelo. Y también estaba enfermo. Estaba enfermo. Yo acuerdo cuando estaba en la esquina hablando con su equipo, la manera como estaba respirando en la esquina. Me parecía muy enfermo Triple G y dijeron que tenía un flu o no sé qué. Abdul Cherstea says, I'm Mexican. You're Mexican, but your first name is Abdul, brother. What's going on with that? Sergio Ramirez says Munguia versus Andrade. I feel like Andrade lacks power. You know, Andrade is such a good boxer, and he's got enough power to keep you honest. So I think Andrade beats the shit out of Jaime Munguia. I think Andrade probably beats anybody in the division for the most part, unless it's Canelo. And even that fight is a tough fight because Canelo's kryptonite is a really good boxer, although he continues to improve as a boxer. And Abdul, you're saying Andrade's overrated. I actually think Andrade's very good. The problem is he's been so inactive and nobody wants to fight him. Carlos Castillo says, para mí están fabricando un pequeño ídolo de Munguía, o sea, un canelito más. Ya, no, no. Creo que la fábrica está jodida, que está tratando de hacer eso, compadre, porque Munguía nunca va a ser Canelo, nunca, nunca. No tiene el talento del Canelo y no tiene la fuerza, la mentalidad, no tiene nada de eso. Abdul Kirstea says he was swinging like an amateur against Zaleski. That's true. That's true, but he was trying to make a fight out of it. He was trying to make it entertaining because a lot of people, that's the reason they were knocking Andrade. They're saying he's kind of boring to watch. So he made it a fight, and I believe him when he says that. I think he made it a fight. He was trying to be fan friendly, and I don't know. Sonny Burness says Munguia barely just started at the 160. You can't just criticize him so quick. I want to see Canelo versus Charlo, Andrade, Saunders. Actually, Sonny, I can criticize so quick. No disrespect, but I can't criticize so quick. I just didn't think he looked good. I don't think he's looked good in his past couple fights. I don't think he's looked fantastic. I don't think he's the talent that people thought he was. And I think he's just a decent fighter, man. I think he's decent. I don't think he's special. But, we'll see in time if I'm right about that. I know Canelo can take them out, but I want to see him fight them, though. Canelo versus Charlo, Andrade, or Saunders would be a lot of fun. I'll be honest with you guys, though. Canelo having to drop back down to 160 after going all the way up to light heavyweight, I don't know if he's going to be able to do it. I don't know if he's going to want to do it, and I don't know if he's going to be able to do it. So I'm wondering where Canelo ends up now, you know? Carlos Castillo says, so we get Munguia out of the list of future champions. Well, you know, for boxing, anybody can be a champion, right? I mean, they pick your opponents for you in boxing and they make you go, you know, 20 and 0, 30 and 0, 40 and 0, and then, you know, you become a champion and there's 25 different titles. So he can be a champion. He's already a champion. He was already a champion and he is a champion. But he's not going to be a Canelo, you know. He's not going to be that guy. He's just going to be an okay. He's going to be a decent fighter, you know. But Munguia is not a killer. uh, Abdul says Andrade has to sort his Charlo problems before he gets the Canelo sweepstakes. That'd be a lot of fun too, man. I hope they do that. I hope you're right about that. Munguia is a good fighter. He won the belt too early in his career. He's still in development and progress. Similar to AJ, yeah, but I mean, but would you say he's as good as AJ? Nah, man, he's not as good as AJ. I mean, he's a work in progress, like you said, but he hasn't really improved that much, man. He's not improving that much, you know. He's a banger, man. That's what people look at him. He's just a big physical banger, you know, and that's not. I don't think that's what you want to. That's what you want to be. You know, I don't think that's the way you want to win or keep a title. That's sure as hell not going to make you an elite boxer. Sonny Burnett says Canelo rehydrates easily. When he fought Jacobs, he put a rehydration clause. Triple G didn't do that, and Jacobs never weigh in. That's why Canelo can't stem hit the 160 division. Can still hit the 160 division. Maybe, you know, but he looked big, man, against Kovalev. He looked big as fuck. But anyway, you guys, I've been on for over an hour. Really appreciate you guys. Might be back on tomorrow for the Anxiety Sunday. Maybe I have a special guest. Excuse me, a special guest on. If not, obviously join me Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific. You know, we're gearing up for Fighters Rep number 9. It's on February 28th. If you're anywhere near SoCal, get yourself a ticket at fightersrep.com. Otherwise, you can watch it right here. Thank you guys for joining the chat. I really appreciate you guys. You guys are amazing. You all have a good night. Drink a lot of tequila. Drink a lot of whiskey, but don't drive. Drink a lot of vodka, but don't drive. I love you too, Abdul. And you the man, brother. And until next time, knuckleheads, keep it clean. I'm out of here.